Oh, I start sweating. I didn't even ride fast on purpose. Like, because I get going, and if I'm gonna be a little late, I start riding a little bit fast. When I get there, I just start sweating craziness.
Yeah. All right. There's Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hey there. How are you tonight?
Hello, Steve.
You guys hear me okay?
Can you hear us?
Oh,
I
he's,
can
it
hear
looks
you.
like he's talking. What
Hmm.
does that mean?
No, I just want to make sure that I
How
have the
about
right.
now?
So you can see the audio thing, the microphone moving. You know if that was him.
Yeah, but I just want to.
Do you do a lot of Zoom meetings?
Mhm. Oh, you can hear us. Okay, that's good. But I don't think we can hear him.
But we can't hear you.
Test, test, test,
Let me try
test.
the speaker thing. Let's try.
How about now? No? Du, 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 du. Let's see if I have another audio test speaker in my test, test, test.
Oh, I think I know why.
Yes. How about
I
now?
plug in my audio cable.
Aha.
That thing's tough to work with.
Yeah, I don't like this whole setup, but it's what we've got. So
Kind of put Bill and put together,
okay.
but I think it's even.
Now I think we'll hear him.
Now you
Can you
can hear
try
me.
talking again, Steve?
How about now? Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Hmm.
What's that?
Test, test,
It's good
test.
that they can hear us,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't hear you.
Test, test, test. Can you hear me now? Test, test, test. Let's see if Melissa can hear me.
Yes, I can hear
Hey,
you.
Melissa.
Hi.
Yeah, we've got some
They
audio
can't hear me though,
issues.
Melissa. So they got audio problems on their side.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But Carly, you can't hear us? Can you hear me?
Speakers.
Okay.
No, they can't. There's some fanciness. How are you, Melissa?
I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't sound
Yeah.
very good. Oh my gosh, do I need to run
Uh,
a margarita up to you?
yeah. Yeah. It's
Intervention?
yeah. Yeah. I
Is, there,
yeah.
is everybody okay?
Everybody's
Oh,
fine. Like we're
perfect.
all family's all good. It's just it's the incoming administration at the federal level and
Oh yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what it means for our work, but also just some yeah, mostly work related stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um
I'm an ostrich for the next 4 years.
you are I wish I had that
I
ability.
know.
You're that's really wise. Very, very wise.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
good you can hear us.
unfortunately, you're on the knife edge. I
Yep.
think they can hear us now, right? Hey, Carly,
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Thanks
what's the
for being.
magic setup from your side? Did you have to get a paper clip and stick it in the audio hole there? And
No, something similar. Just another cord that had to be plugged into this. Yeah, this very high-tech system we have here at Village. But I think we're set to go. Are we ready to go, Michael?
Yeah, I think we're
Okay,
good. You guys ready?
Ready to
ready.
rock.
let's do it.
Okay, call it January 22nd, 2025, Village of Cross Plains Sustainability Committee meeting to order. I'll do a roll call. Melissa Gavin,
Here.
Stephen Douglas,
Here.
Aaron Linus, Michael Pomykowski here. So we got that going on. The agenda review is, we're gonna talk about as much of this stuff as we can. Public comments, no one's up here. Is there anyone online?
There's no one online.
No one online. Looks like there's no public comment. So we will move into the general business. Do we have any committee member report outs and updates? Anything that's not on the agenda?
Nothing from Steve.
Michael, I was supposed to provide contact information for a potential committee member because we've been talking about that, and I don't know if this is an opportunity to provide that. I don't
Yeah.
think there's. Okay, it's Jenny Dietering was the person who attended the open house or the conversation that we hosted as a sustainability committee a few years ago. And
Right.
I have her phone number if it's a person that you wanted to reach out to, but I know we're trying to fill out the rest of our committee, so we're kind of firing on all cylinders again. So I wanted to share her contact information. I can put it in the chat if that's good.
Why don't you just email it to me
Okay.
rather than throw it in the chat? So.
Okay.
Melissa, do you mind including all of us so that I'll have it too in the depths of my email? I've been
Yes.
she was so good. I just recall that thinking it's like this person is really involved and could really contribute in some fashion. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Melissa. And talking about that, I hadn't forgot to put that as an agenda item, so I'll like go over like how my work on that's been going. I was texting Andy Hartman, and he seemed very interested. This would have been like right around before Christmas, I want to say. And he said, I think he basically said I had to check with my wife to see if it would be okay, and then I never heard back from him. So I'm going to follow back up on that because he was like, yeah, whatever happened to that? I said, yeah, nothing happened. And so I'm going to find out from him how that all is going. I did actually make contact with Jen Wancurl also. We've exchanged a few emails. I think she's going to attend the September meeting, or the February meeting, I mean. She kind of had some questions on how money is allocated and how things are implemented, so I kind of think I answered those. I did say that there was a meeting tonight, but she couldn't make tonight's meeting, but I think she's gonna go to the February one, so those are two definite other contacts.
Great. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm gonna follow back up with Andy, and I'm gonna follow back up with Jen and see if I answered her questions or not. As another aside to that, Jay sent out an email asking about people like committee member updates again. And I'm just gonna ask you, Steve. Steve, you were on the list. It looks like you're up for like renewal. Did you want to do it again, or did you want to send your response to me an email, or what are you thinking? I don't mean
yeah, let me think. I wondered about that actually when we were talking about this committee folks. So I think a while back, man, years, right? We had said, how long would you be interested? I can't remember how, was it a 1 year, 2 year, or forever? I mean, I'm a term limits guy, so big time. So can I think about that and contact you by email? Is that legal to do, Carly?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Sorry for calling you out before. It's just the walking forum thing. You can't discuss things outside of.
No, that's good. Yeah, I don't know that kind of stuff. I was not raised on this, so thank you for any and all suggestions. And that's going to come up again tonight when I failed to send another document, probably in the proper fashion, but we can talk about that at that point.
Okay,
yeah, so
I'll send you an email, Steve.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Michael.
Yep. Okay, so that's all I think I have for report outs.
Oh, can I interject one question?
Yeah, of course.
Since we are flying lean here on committee membership, I assume we have a quorum here with
We do.
3 of us.
Yeah.
Is it Michael is included in that, is that right?
Yeah,
Yep,
Okay.
Michael's included,
So
so,
if
yeah,
one of
it's
us does not
5,
show, we don't have a quorum, is that correct?
correct.
yeah,
Okay.
we need 3 of the 5. Well, the committee's supposed to have 5 people on it, but John's not, since he's not in the village, he's technically not a member, so there's actually 4 of the 5 spots filled, and Aaron doesn't ever show, so.
Right, okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify that. Thanks. And I appreciate the reschedule too, because I know I was the one with the original conflict, and then it turned out there was conflict with finance or something, I think, too. So thanks for the reschedule for this one.
It's all good. Okay. So now we got that taken care of. All right, let's move on. Unless there's anything else. Or whatnot. Okay. Discussion and possible approval of the November 20th, 2024 sustainability meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve these?
I make a motion to approve.
And Steve will second that.
We have a motion from Melissa and a second from Steve. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. That passes. Discussion and possible approval of December 18th, 2024 sustainability meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve these meeting minutes?
Steve will motion. No discussion.
And I second.
Okay, and Steve motions, Melissa seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing the December 18th, 2024 meeting minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, nay. Those meeting minutes are approved. Okay, so now I just put on here discussion about last month's speaker, the Tom Egger with the Clean Wisconsin. If anybody had any ideas or thoughts, since that just happened last year, that they would like to share with the committee about ideas or what was taken or gotten, or ideas moving forward for the committee to work on, etc., or other work that people have done related to that since then.
I have,
Melissa?
yeah, I have not done anything, but I brought Tom on because I thought that if there were somebody on the committee, and I thought maybe Carly or somebody on village staff might potentially be interested in participating in some of the ongoing conversations that Tom is helping to facilitate for municipalities. It seems to me like that's the one place where we could plug in and kind of stay apprised, but I don't have any I haven't participated in those conversations, and I don't have any other well thought out ways to pick up on some of the suggestions that Tom made.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add, thanks Melissa for, I know that was your contact and you brought Tom in, and it was very interesting, and it once again showed me the how much work is going on out there that I think all of us are unaware of. There's a lot of work out there, and I would have to say, some of it was over my head, a lot of it, but it's good for us to hear that. I think it's a great resource.
Yeah, Clean Wisconsin does some great work, and I'm glad to have connections there. And then, they're connected to so many experts and have a good sense of what's happening policy wise in the state. So yeah, glad that Tom could join us. Carly, I'm just kind of curious, and I kind of hate to ask this question because I know that you've got so much going on, but is there anything that Tom shared that you thought could potentially fit into your work plan? Any calls that, or any level of engagement that might make sense? And it's okay to say no, but just kind of curious.
Yeah, so I was definitely thinking as he was going through a lot of that, and I know, because I think we did ask what municipalities are kind of implementing things right now, and it sounded like it was like maybe Milwaukee, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a much larger municipality with a lot more resources, and probably a devoted sustainability department as well. And two, I think the zoning code stuff as well. I know there was a lot of conversation about building code and things like that, which is more at the state level. So that's not necessarily something we can really tackle down here, I guess, for the building code piece. And then I guess I was thinking kind of the same thing with like zoning and things like that too. I think a lot of what Tom brought is needing to be decided upon in larger municipalities or at the state level. It's kind of what I got from it. I don't know where we fit in quite yet, but I mean, it was all really helpful information, but.
Yeah, the place that I see us fitting it in is the ongoing learning group of municipalities that are trying to learn together what they can do on, on electrification, yeah, recognizing that there's limitations because of state code. And so kind of municipalities trying to learn from each other, and Middleton is one of them, how they can continue to push forward on sustainability, particularly like energy reduction.
Yeah.
When we are limited. So I think that's kind of the premise of the learning group that he talked about. We are limited, but
Yeah, and I think another place we're a little limited too is we don't even have our own building inspector. Like we contract that out. So that's like a company outside of the village that does the building inspections and would know the code through and through. So like if we had our own department or our own building inspector, I think even those conversations would be a little bit more helpful too. And I know, my staff is just very limited in our capacity right now.
Yeah.
So to join another group, but I mean, if one of the committee members would be interested in joining and kind of reporting out or something like that, I could see that as possibly being pretty beneficial, but that's up to the committee.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody is interested, feel free.
Sorry I tried to make it sound a little nicer than that, but.
Okay. Yeah, it was all good stuff. But Carly said, I don't know how much we can deal with codes that aren't being brought up to standards and et cetera, et cetera. It's a tough thing to deal with and to wrap your head around. Okay, any other discussion here? All right, hearing none. I want to move on to a discussion about the energy usage, possibly at the New Village Hall / police department. There was a meeting, it was a week ago Monday, about the new Village Hall. Basically kind of gave the layout of the building, sort of presented to the board what the committee has been working on, et cetera, where the building's going, timeline for financing and building and going out to contract, and then building the construction documents on that. I did ask the architect about the possibility for a geothermal system being used. And he basically told me the same thing that I got back from our Focus on Energy rep, which was that it would cost between $100,000 to $200,000 more than a conventional system. They'd have to do soil conductivity testing, see how deep the wells would have to go, what would be used. I think he listed a 10 to 15 year payback system. The discussion about the Inflation Reduction Act credits would come back. I kind of then, asked those questions. He, explained what was going on. And I kind of asked the village board sort of if there was really any interest in that, and nobody said anything.
Yeah, I don't know if they were trying to process it or it was later in the meeting. I don't know.
I wasn't sure if they understood I was asking a question.
Oh gosh.
I was just kind of like, I did like, was like, so how does this sound to other people? Or like, is anyone interested? Like I said it like that, and nobody said anything.
There wasn't a whole lot of feedback that whole meeting, though, to be fair.
Right, there really wasn't a whole lot of circling back. And so I just wasn't sure where to come away from that meeting with that. Like, cause then after the meeting, I went and I spoke to the architect and I was like, okay, well, like, if we wanted to like. Try to make geothermal be a reality, like, when do you need to know? And he pretty much was like. Well, one, he just said the sooner the better about 14 times. And I was like, okay, so does that, because there's gonna be, because I think what was discussed at that meeting a week ago Monday is going to be rediscussed coming up this Monday at the village board. And we're gonna basically kind of tell them like, go ahead and start like doing the construction documents and start actually putting things together for it to go out to bid. And, you know, I think right now the plan is just to go with just, you know, your regular heating system, you know, boilers with rooftop units with air conditioners in it, and the building's gonna have, you know, an air circulating system, just basically like what the library does, like pretty much any commercial building has. I mean, a geothermal system would have to have air circulators as well, and there would be rooftop units. It's just they would be using the geothermal heat pumps to pump cold water and warm water up there versus hot water from boilers and air conditioners being used.
So Michael, when you sent that back, I think you also mentioned if there was enough solar on top, you could offset that 100,000 whatever dollar amount it was. Did I hear that right or read that right?
I don't know if it could be offset, but so I had sent you guys that email that Joe from Focus on Energy had sent back when I was asking him the questions about geothermal, and he went like all into that kind of like deep thing about like, well, with the cost of natural gas being so low, you know, and the heat and the geothermal system being 400% efficient, but with natural gas being so cheap, the only way you're going to get an efficiency above the low cost of natural gas, because the geothermal system is going to use a lot more electricity than a conventional system, because all you're it's an electrically powered system. And he basically said, if you put a lot of solar on the rooftop, you're basically using free electrons, which then increases the efficiency of the geothermal system. It's basically
Okay.
But with what was presented at the committee meeting, they're basically putting solar panels regardless on, looks like essentially as much as the roof as can possibly be covered, aside from leaving some space should there ever have to be repairs to the mechanical systems on the roof. I mean, if they're already putting it up there, regardless if it's geothermal or not. Kind of what was in the drawings.
Okay. Do we know why that is?
Why, what is?
Why are they putting solar on top? Did someone bring that up? Is it free space? Did the architect suggest it? Engineers? I'm just curious. I mean, to me, it's like awesome, but how did they come up with that?
I think
You know?
it came out of the building subcommittee or just.
Yeah, so I'm on that committee, which is the core planning group for the new Village Hall project. And I believe it came out of the community input sessions that were held in, I want to say last May or April.
Yeah.
Kind of when people could come in and choose what style of building they liked most. I think there were also comments from the community that Jay heard that was something that folks wanted.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I just know whenever Jay has spoken about the building, he's always just been like, and we're gonna have solar on top. I was just like, okay, so I guess until somebody says no, it's just gonna happen, or until a bunch of people said yes at this meeting that they wanted it, so they just said, we're gonna do it. And no one at the village board was like, no, take it all off. There was some discussion about breaking up one of the facades, and that would involve removing some of the solar panels from one of the sides of the building, but I'm not sure that
Yeah, I don't
got a lot of traction either.
It's great. I mean, I think it's great that they've thought about it and they realize it's like over time it just pays for itself. Too. That's good. So I'm curious, when was the citizen listening panel about this building?
That was yeah.
like last April or May.
Oh,
And there's gonna be another one too. So I think it's the actual date is in the newsletter for the month, for the January newsletter. But we are going to have an early March, I think it's March 4th, another community input session. where we're gonna kind of have the same PowerPoint that we presented to the board, with kind of renderings of what the building will look like. And some
okay.
interior renderings too, so people can have, and we'll have a couple of different options too of, exterior options and interior options, so the community has some say in what gets selected.
No, it's fantastic. It's funny. I thought I got the newsletter. Would that have been, so I'm just talking from my citizen hat now. I would have had to have been subscribed to the village like announcement kind of newsletter thing to know
Yeah,
about this.
so
Okay.
it's the village newsletter. I think that's what it's called, isn't it? Village
I think it
newsletter.
is. And now that you mention it, I have not gotten that in a while. I don't
What
think.
just,
Is that
Yeah,
quarterly?
one just came out, I want to say the beginning of this week. So the January one that'll have all the details will be in the most current iteration.
I think I got the email yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Somehow I'm off the list then, I guess. So, well,
Um,
good. Well, now I've learned something. Melissa,
Yeah.
did you know there was a listening session back in April?
Yeah, I did, it was at the fire station, and it's something that so it was kind of like a community open house for all kinds of volunteer organizations, and then Jay used it as a platform to have people also fill out the library survey and give community input on this, on the building. And so there were some not quite renderings, but like some styles that were shared in like visual form, and people kind of voted, or I think they had sticky dots or something.
Hmm.
So it was kind of a light input session, but I was there because I was tabling for the scouts, and it was, yeah, there were other civic groups there that all had tables, and then it was kind of a very short presentation by Jay, and I think I don't know if it was the architects, but some, a firm that the village has been working with to kind of think through the building. And yeah, I think it was like April or May. It might have, Steve, it might have been when because you were out for, were you?
February and March.
Yeah, it might have been when you were gone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to sign in because I used to get these pretty religiously. That's how I found out about the Christmas tree lighting, which we love, by the way.
Yeah,
Parks and Rec, way to go, Mike.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I haven't gotten one lately, so
It
I'll
usually
have
comes
to.
from Becky.
Yep, they come from
Okay.
Becky. I just pulled up the current one. So in Jay's piece, he talks about the second annual village engagement gathering. I guess that's what we're calling it.
Hmm.
So it'll be Tuesday, March 4th from 6 to 7. Um, the presentation will start at 6:30. So like I said, kind of that informal presentation. I don't know if our architect will be there or not. I'm thinking he will be. One of the representatives from the group, and then we'll do that presentation at 6:30, and then feedback will be received afterwards. And then we decided that's on a Tuesday, so through the rest of the week, we'll gather feedback and have our village board meeting room open for people to provide feedback.
Hmm. Well, thanks for that background. Didn't mean to derail us, but it kind of shows the perils of communication and
Yeah,
community involvement.
Mhm.
yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, again, Steve, I sort of think that this might have come at a time when you were out of town. It seems like the kind of thing that like you would have attended or known about. We didn't table for the sustainability committee. It was all civic organizations, but yeah, it was sort of the idea that there would be multiple civic organizations tabling, and then Jay used it as an opportunity to share with people kind of the plans for the village, the new village.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's going on. And that's where I guess getting back to where the solar on the roof came from. I wasn't really sure where that came from either, but at that last village board meeting, there weren't any objections to it or talk of removing it, so that's a good.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then at that meeting also, Jay had started talking about. How best to say this, Jay started talking about like using the sustainability committee to write grants. I don't know if he was meaning for the solar panels or what. It was very strange what he was talking about. Yeah, he just sort of, I was just like, okay, is this like after it's built, before it's built, like when it's built? You know, and I just was like, well, you just get 30% from the Inflation Reduction Act. And Focus on Energy, I know, has cut back their rebates on solar just because of the Inflation Reduction Act. I was sort of saying that, but then Jay then started talking about when he built that new police station, and about how Focus on Energy had like 3 different tiers, and depending on what tier you in, like with your building, is how much money you got back in rebates. And so I went out to, so the next day I just went out to the Focus on Energy website, and I was like, okay, I gotta figure out what he's talking about, because we're gonna end up doing on this if he's talking about that or something or other. And I found some stuff out on the website, and I wasn't really sure. I couldn't find anything about tiers. And so I basically emailed our Focus on Energy rep, the Joe, I forget his last name, and was like, hey, do you know anything about these tiers, and what is the best thing for the village to do if we're trying to, you know, get rebates with this new building? And he basically said, we need to get involved in this one program that Focus on Energy is involved with, since we're still in the planning and design stage. And so I sent, and basically he said, when you get involved in this program, basically sounds like Focus on Energy works with your architect / engineering company. And this is where I don't know, like if they send their plans and blueprints to Focus on Energy, somehow Focus on Energy gets involved in the planning of the building and does an energy analysis of it, like before it's built. And they basically suggest 3 different levels of energy conservation. I'm just kind of guessing here, but this is what it sounded like. And like good, better, and best. And dependent then, so then they say these are the 3 different levels. And I'm making the assumption that, like, you know, good is like, this is basically the baseline commercial building code. Like, this is how much insulation you need to have. They're just using standard rooftop units. You're just using standard boilers. And then when you go to better, you know, you're like, oh, you're using more insulation, you know, better equipment. And we go to best, you're like using super high efficiency, and you got, you know, 10 feet of insulation and all that stuff, you know. And so basically, it sounded like you want to get involved in this while you're still in the planning and design work, because dependent on, because then it comes back to the municipality, and the municipality says, oh, we want to use, you know, one of these 3 tiers. And, you know, and I guess there would be cost analysis, like the best would be, I don't know, more money because you're buying more efficient boilers or something, you know? But then at the exact same time, if you're doing that, you're going to get a higher rebate back from Focus on Energy. That's kind of the way he explained it to me.
Is there a cost associated with that initial energy audit from Focus on Energy?
I don't know. See, that was that thing that I sent you that you said, so then when the fellow replied from Focus on Energy, and I sent it to Carly and Jay, and I was like, look, this pretty much sounds like what we just want to do to make this building energy efficient. You know, I was like, you want, like, you know, I don't know what the sustainability committee is going to do better on Focus on Energy, because that Joe guy there knows like all about like
everything,
pounds per, you know, to cool a building this size, you need 14 tons of cooling. Or I mean, he was like getting that one email, and I'm like, okay, these guys know what they're talking about, you know. So yeah, that's what I don't know. Like, I don't know to sign up for that program if there's a cost.
Okay, I could reply to him and see kind of, you know, what it would all entail.
Well, right, so you haven't spoken to Jay about that at all then, Carly?
No, we haven't
You haven't had your core.
really we have not met. So our core planning group isn't meeting again until after the 27th.
Oh,
because
okay.
Because our architect can't move forward until they have board approval. on what they are proposing currently. So they are kind of in a holding pattern right now.
Well, then does this need to be brought up at the board meeting?
I would suggest it.
Yeah, okay, see, that's what I, 'cause you
Yeah.
said you'd bring it up, and Jay on his reply to me would just said, thanks, Michael, but with an exclamation point, so I thought that meant good. Like, he was like, this is something we're gonna do, but maybe it's the thanks, Michael, now I hit delete, I mean, I don't know, like, what that.
So no, I think it definitely,
Mm,
I might email Joe, to just kind of like see if there's a cost, kind of reply to that to show that the
Like-
village is interested.
Yeah, coming from the administrator.
And then-
I don't know if I'm empowered.
Right, but then I think that if you wanted to bring it up at the 27th meeting,
I think definitely could that, and yeah, no, I definitely will, I definitely want to, because that would be. Okay, I'm just, cause kind of sounds like the geothermal thing isn't gonna happen and whether or
Yeah.
not. We
Yep.
should,
yeah.
you
So if
know,
there's something else that we can do,
that's what I'm.
and I'm thinking if this is a lower no cost, that would be the most,
Well, it sounds like
Like-
even since Focus on Energy is gonna give us like rebates at the end, that this is like something that they do like for free to try to make buildings be
more efficient.
more efficient. And then they're like, and now, thanks for using us, cause you're paid for by the utilities, and now we even give you more money for using us, cause you implemented
Yeah.
our ideas, that's.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could email them, just so we have that information out for the meeting on Monday,
Mhm.
you know? I don't wanna give you things to do, I know you were talking about you come out of meetings. and-
It's all right.
Just one
Part of
small-
the job.
One small thing, one teeny thing.
I can do it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's worth just bringing that up again and making sure the board's aware of what opportunities are out there.
Well, yeah, especially if we're not doing that, I mean, that. Yeah, I definitely think, my opinion, definitely, Focus on Energy is willing to do this thing for hardly any cost or anything and get involved now, just whether or not how. Pleased the architect's gonna be that some other third party is getting involved in, like, hey,
Right.
now we wanna like
But ultimately,
double check your work, or we wanna
We're
give.
paying the architect,
Well,
so we can tell the architect what
what-
we want.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So. Since that's not happening, I mean, I definitely wanna pursue it. I mean, what do you guys think about what I'm talking about? Is this a good idea, or like, I just sort of.
So to recap, what I'm hearing is that Jay indicated that maybe the sustainability committee could do some research on grants to cover some of the proposed, I don't know, upgrades or sustainability elements of the village hall. And where we've arrived is, and then he also referenced Focus on Energy. Where we've arrived is that in order to take advantage of the Focus on Energy rebates, that first we have to have this kind of efficiency audit of the proposal. And then they would kind of go through and make recommendations. And then if we implement any of those, then we would get the rebates. Am I tracking?
Yeah, that's definitely, now there is on that website, I will lie to you, on the website, there was. A alternate route that if your building was already built. And you put. This is on the website, it didn't give concrete examples,
Okay.
but it said. There were two paths, one was when you were still in the planning and design work, and the other one was kind of like in the, okay, your building is. Being built or has already been designed and somebody's already bid on it, you've awarded a it was already decided. There was an alternate one on the website that said. Okay, Focus on Energy will like look at. What you put in and there will be rebates for. Some of the stuff, like whatever you did. But this fella from Focus on Energy, cause I kind of talked about both of them in email, like I was pretty much like leaning toward that one, cause I wasn't sure. About the. Excuse me, about the one where they like, you give them the plans or whatever, they like go through and they're like, do this and change this and put these boilers and like, that's kind of what I think Focus on Energy is gonna do. Like, they're gonna really be like, here's the efficient ones that you want here, you want these things on your roof, you want this and that,
Mhm.
And so in the fellow from Focus on Energy's reply, he basically really steered me away from the, post-construction or has been built
Okay.
aspect, and went really for the, let us help you design your building kind of.
Mhm.
I think that's a great option. I think I agree that the folks that focus on energy are going to have the best kind of perspective on what we could be doing, what's feasible for, you know, for our climate and everything, even potentially maybe even better, I don't know, than LEED certification. But yeah, I think it's a great idea to reach out to them and find out if there's a cost associated with that and then make a determination.
And even if it's a nominal cost, I mean, it could be maybe just $1,000 to prove that you're like interested, that you might just get it back, you know, or something.
Yeah.
True.
And
And
so
we do
wanna make-
have that, we
Yeah.
do have the grant that we paid for, that we, you know, the funds that we received from that at first focus on energy opportunity that we haven't designated. So potentially if there is a cost, I wonder if this is something we might be able to use that for.
I think we would definitely be able to use it for that, but like, let's keep that on the lowdown, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much was that grant for
Free
again?
money.
$1,000, okay.
Cause this building's gonna
Yeah.
cost like $7 million, like we need to keep our $1,000.
You're right.
Yeah, that's ours.
Yeah.
Don't
Keep your
share.
hands off. Hey, team, just, we're talking about focus on energy too. I know we're talking about the new structure, but there's also that plan, and I was scrolling through the agenda. You know, when they came out and sort of did the audit of all of our stuff, like our existing, because Michael, you said, you know, there's definitely a difference between existing versus new. Have we dropped that, you know, addressing any of those issues? Because that was really thorough. I'm looking at this packet, you know, like when they went to the wastewater treatment and said, oh, you know, put this other UV filter in, or go to the shop and, you know, plug that hole in the door. Is that still kind of on our radar at all?
Yeah, see, that's why kind of, since we haven't decided what to do with the focus on energy grant, I kind of keep that little energy audit thing just sort of in the packet, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of started going back through that after having this discussion with the focus on energy individual, and I was like, okay, are there really other areas in the village where we could really possibly get some energy savings, you know, and so going through that, reading it, you know, you definitely can. I mean, you know, it's just the same sort of ideas, though. It's like, okay, you know, do you use you know, I always talk about the library, because the library I'm like most familiar with, but it also could apply to the waste treatment plant. Like anytime you just have a, you know, pump that's just pumping, you know, like a 1.5, think like the pumps that circulate the water at the library through the boilers are 1.5 horsepower pumps. And he's like, oh, if you went to you know, they're either on or they're off. They aren't variable speed, they aren't electronically controlled. Either they're on or they're off. And, you know, inside of the system, he says this is an area for improvement. And I believe inside of there, you know, he says, we have high efficiency boilers in the library, but the rooftop units were standard efficiency, is what he wrote in that write-up. But I do know that the fans up on the roof, like Elizabeth just had one of the electronically controlled fans had to be replaced at the library, like one had failed, and so I think they replaced it. They kept the old one and did some minor repairs in case one of them failed. And I'm just like, okay, we're, you know, the library's getting on 20 years old. Like when, you know, as these systems start to fail, when is it time to look at, is there a better way, you know, when do you get into like replacing rooftop units at the library, right? Like how is that decision made?
Mm-hmm.
And that is like where I just kind of go, I don't know. You know, I don't know who decides those things. I mean, or do you
Right.
just continually just sort of fix things as they happen? I mean,
That's historically how it has been done. Because I've had conversations specifically about the wastewater treatment plant, is that it's getting to a point where a lot of things are going to be needing repair or replacement. That we've been there's a point at which you can stop kind of taping things up and you really have to start replacing things. And we do have our capital improvement plan. So I'm just I guess, as you're talking, Michael, I'm thinking about how maybe a replacement policy could come into play with our capital improvement plan, like, hey, you go out and you check, you get 3 vendors, but, maybe one of them has to be a more sustainable option. Or,
Right.
I don't know, something like that. I'm just kind of spitballing, but.
That's definitely one, or even inside of you wanna write a policy that's even more, I know we talk about, when you go for capital, you have to have 3 bids, but if you wanted to write even a more powerful plan, like. If you're doing, most of these things are gonna be energy related, I mean, it's buying trucks or whatever, but if you're. Replacing a system at, water treatment plant, library, something along those lines, like. Focus on energy needs to be brought into the decision somehow, or contacted. I mean, I know that they even have like. Just with what I was reading, people that are called trade allies, which are basically like, it sounds like they're contractors. That work with Focus on Energy, and it sounds more like if you use them, and so I don't know if that's like how,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying, like I don't know if you have to use them, but if you use them, you get. Better chances at rebates. See, I don't know, I haven't read up on it a long time, I found it kind of weird that they kind of gave like specific. I know there was something on there called trade allies, and that's what it seemed like if you use these contractors, then the rebates were easier to procure. Like maybe that person just auto submits it to them and you get paid, rather than you having to fill it out. I mean, maybe that's the benefit of that, I mean, I don't know, But that's even something even more along those lines, because if they can because that guy from Focus on Energy, just on that walkthrough was like, oh, you got like continually running pumps here and you got these things here, like he just instantly saw a bazillion things that could be improved in terms of energy efficiency, like in an.
Or even like, is that just a connection between Ted and Tom? Like
Right,
that they have an open line of communication, and when Ted's looking at replacing some pump, he'd call up Tom and say, hey, this is the part I'm thinking of. You got a better one, or you have a more efficient one?
are you
I don't
talking
know.
about the fellow from Focus on Energy?
Yeah, his name is Tom, right?
Joe.
Joe. Why did I have Tom? Joe.
Joe, I think it's.
Tom, Joe. 3-letter names.
Okay. Yeah, so. So Steve, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I've definitely sort of thought about that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, as long as that's still, I mean, because that was such good work and good insight. And I know a lot of it's expensive, but it was cool in that it was, man, it's very engineering, sort of perspective of, here's your return on investment, here's your cost, here's your priority. I like that way of thinking.
Did this
But it
plan,
costs money.
did this plan get shared with the department heads associated with each area?
It definitely got mailed to Jerry, and I definitely sent it to Elizabeth.
Okay.
And those are like the 2 major, because he walked through the water treatment plant, walked through the library. He walked through the public facilities building.
Yeah, I'm doubting that got its way to Ted. Is what I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh, I wonder if it did, if it just.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it went to Jerry, Jerry's feedback was just basically like, oh, when we have to replace something, we'll think about doing this, and that's just kind of like. Like what the idea was, like we aren't gonna, something that's working, we're gonna take apart or, but like what you're saying is things are aging, and as they are aging.
And we're gonna be experiencing a lot of change in the public facilities. There's a lot of turnover with retirements and things, and Jerry will be leaving in March. He'll be retiring, so there's just, I'm just saying that now might be a good time to kind of introduce some more of these discussions.
Oh,
How about April?
That works for me, Steve.
I'd propose we bring this up in April or May, and bring it back. Well, you're gonna have to hire someone. Is that happening yet?
Yeah, so the position closes at the beginning of February, like February 2nd. We have 2 applicants already. So we'll see what happens. I mean, and if nothing works out there, then we'll have kind of a piecemeal interim kind of
Yeah.
situation. So we'll figure that out. But we did promote Scott to our foreman position. So we had a retirement for the public facilities 1 is what it was called initially. And now it's the foreman position. So we had someone internally move up. So that's that's great news. He's really highly qualified for that position. And yeah, now we just needed a new director. So
Okay.
if you know of it.
Yeah. Yeah, this was such good work that we got here.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose it. And I know it just the time might have not been right, to discuss or bring it forward, but
I'm thinking that, yeah, later this spring.
okay.
This spring, absolutely.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, so, yeah, so there's all kinds of possibilities for, energy improvement inside the village. It's just trying to figure out how to implement it, or when things start to fail, when do you say, we need to start to look at something different, or a different system, or an improved system. I mean, I know, I'll just do this real quick. I did a real quick energy comparison between the Cross Plains Library and the Middleton Library. I don't know if I told you guys about this or not.
No.
Yeah, so, because when that solar guy came out and looked at put the solar panels on the roof of the library, he was like, oh, you guys are using a lot of power. Like, are you like mining crypto in here, like electricity? And so that made Elizabeth, he did. He's like, you guys seem to use a lot of electricity for this building. So Elizabeth did some work and went out to the MG&E site and did some cross comparisons and asked the MG&E guy and if we use a lot of electricity. He's like, well, for your building, no, not really. You're like right average. So I don't know what the solar guy was talking about. So I got curious and I contacted the Middleton Library because they would be like pretty much the same temperature as us. Rather than getting a library that's the same size from us, that's 200 miles north or whatever.
Yeah.
So basically I got their electric and gas bills from their head librarian, and pretty much our electric bills were basically right in line. Like I just basically, it wasn't like super scientific. I just used the basic square footage of the building is what I did. So I figured, okay, this amount of square footage, you're gonna have, so many computers per square foot, et cetera, right? Basically our library and the Middleton Library pretty much were hand in hand, and our library was even a little bit more efficient in the summertime, I think, just in terms of cooling, since it wasn't as big. Like it's
Okay.
on the ratio level used less. But yet in the wintertime, ours tended, but in the wintertime, with regard to how much natural gas it used, ours tended to use a little bit more natural gas than Middleton's. And in the wintertime, one winter we used less, one winter we used more on a ratio basis, and I couldn't figure out what the change was. It was also obvious that in the summertime, like when it warms up, you would think you wouldn't be using really hardly any natural gas because you aren't doing any heating at all. Like here at Village Hall, you guys drop down like in the summertime, like this building uses like 0 therms in the summertime. Like it's just must be, like you must turn your hot water heater off even. Like this building doesn't even use any. I'm serious. Like in the summertime.
Well, I've never really used much hot water, to be honest.
Well, I mean, this building goes to like flat out 0 on its natural gas use. It's like in the summer, but now in the winter, obviously it's not because you're using your furnace.
Yeah.
But yet with the library, the Cross Plains Library, it definitely in the summertime, the Middleton Library's natural gas usage dropped down to like 30 therms in the summertime, but the Cross Plains Library was like 60, 65, like it was using twice as much. And I'm like, how are you using? And I think that their water heaters at our library are electric. I don't even think they're gas water heaters. I don't think they are. The one in the main side, Elizabeth showed me like the room where the boilers were. I actually asked her to show me the boilers because I wanted to see what these things look like. I went over there like last week because I didn't know what modern boilers look like. I was thinking these giant, tanks that you heat up, but they're just kind of small things. They aren't that big.
Mhm.
And in there was one of their water heaters, and I think it had a electric line going to it. So they didn't even use natural gas to heat the water. And in the summer it was higher. And so I'm just like, something's not right. Like,
Wait, so they don't use natural gas to heat the water, you're saying? Because it's electric, okay.
yeah, like this is just for like the bathrooms,
Okay.
like the staff kitchen, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like just,
Right.
but
Huh.
but the boilers for the heating system, I think, are the only things that would use natural gas. And I'm like, Elizabeth says something, oh, the guys at the HVAC company said that the boilers have to fire a little bit in the summer to keep running, or I'm just like, Why? Just run cool. What? I mean, you're trying to cool it down. You don't need to be heating anything. See, and that's where I'm just kind of like, something might be going screwy over there, you know?
Mhm.
And that's where, you know, in terms of really delving in, but how much do
Yeah.
you spend to have, you know, I mean, you just bring your HVAC guy out, what is he gonna take? I mean, this is where like the extent of my knowledge like ends. I don't know, I guess I could email Joe. Joe's like our energy guy, focus on energy, you know?
But didn't he, I mean, isn't that kind of where it started, Michael? Didn't he? I, I feel like he's given us the information that he had on the library.
Yeah, he did, but like this would be like more of like a specific question. Like if I'm like, hey, our library in the summertime is using more natural gas than this other library that's twice the size, and we don't use it to heat hot water.
Okay.
Like, are our boilers malfunctioning? Is the control software that controls the boilers malfunctioning? I mean, you know, because if it's the summertime, you know, I don't know. I mean, if you're trying to air condition, why would you be heating water? I mean, that does, you know, it doesn't make sense, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So this is,
Definitely out of my depth here.
yeah, mine too. And I think like, you know, I've sort of talked to Elizabeth, we're both just kind of like, well, must be like actually, you know, who do we really ask? So, I don't
Yeah.
know. So that's just kind of always on this, like, how do we conserve energy? And with the audit that Joe did, how do we start, like what you were talking about, Steve, how do we start implementing some of these things?
Mm-hmm. You know, and not to jump ahead to item 9, we have a hard time getting to our sustainability plan. Every time we've got to get to that guy. We got to move it up on the agenda. But
Definitely.
this was essentially was sort of in the spirit of, I know one of the items was village when the village is discussing equipment purchases and designs, how do we get sustainability into the process? And this, I mean, this came up, you know, just here within the last 15 minutes, you know, of here's an idea, but, you know, were we able to give some sort of, you know, sustainability perspective or discussion, framework, whatever around that? And, you know, if we could operationalize us, not us, I mean, the big us, the spirit of this committee into processes in the village. So it's like, well, yeah, what do you think? As you said, Carly, you know, the third option, you know, is there a more sustainable one? And if it costs a little bit more, do we have the capability to do that, you know, cost benefit analysis to say, but yeah, it's worth it after 3 years. You get your money back and more. And so, you know, I think we're all on board with that concept, but I don't think it's operationalized, you know, in the
Yeah.
village processes.
No, I don't think so, but I don't think that it's wasteful also, but I understand what you're saying, like to-dos, to spend it, like, to actually use focus on energy, like, and to have it be a thought.
Mhm.
That's what you're meaning, right, Steve? And just,
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Just have it be, you know, part of the discussion.
Mhm.
Because I guess what I see happening in maybe some of this discussion about the new administrative building and police station, whatever, it's like, what is cheapest? That's what we're
Yeah.
doing. I should say, what is cheapest in the short term, in this
Right.
quarter, in this half a year? There's the long term, you know, it's like politicians. It's like, you know, what is cheapest, you know, as long as I'm in office because people love me then. But for the long haul, if this were better for 20 years or 7 generations, what are we going to do? You know, are you willing to have that discussion? So a little bit more longer term.
Yeah.
no, I
Mhm.
absolutely agree with that and understand that as well. Um, I just have one more item concerning the new village hall that I would just like to discuss real quick in terms of energy or whatnot. This was something that I had spoken about with Brian Mooney before he had spoken to me. And I don't know if you're gonna know or not, Carly. Was there any discussion about putting like an electronic vehicle charger in the parking lot of that building? Or have you not?
Not yet. I mean, it could have happened before I got here because this this committee really mobilized, I want to say, shortly after that meeting in April or May. And then I started in September.
Right.
So they may have talked about it then. Um, I have some, I mean, I have some friends that sell them, like work in companies that sell them and can kind of speak to like the voltage and all of that kind of stuff, like what we would need or what we might want. But yeah, it hasn't been discussed. I think we're still very much in a stage where that could easily be added.
Yeah, or even just anything, just a conduit, a pipe ran from the building out to some spot in the parking lot where one could be brought in or put in or.
Yeah, just kind of rough it in,
Yeah,
as they
exactly,
say, yeah.
yeah. And then, and this is, I brought this up before, but like, they're gonna have all this parking downstairs, like like for the police
Yeah.
department, right? They're gonna have parking for police vehicles inside of there. Are those spots going to have possible or electrical connections should those cars ever become electric vehicles?
That hasn't been discussed either that I know of. I know in previous communities, it's been like pulling teeth to get the PD to commit to electric squad cars.
Right, exactly. So that was, so with that, yeah, okay. These were just things that I talked with Brian about.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
think-
yeah, I don't know what it would look like could you rough that in as well for a basement kind of charging
Well,
space?
you could just make sure that you have piping or easily have conduit be brought in, like for an outlet that would hook into the building and make sure that, you know, that the electrical room would have that ability is all I'm.
Yeah,
Cause this is like, kind of goes like what you're talking about, like planning ahead, right, Steve? So that
yeah,
was-
because we might get to a point where we do require that.
Well, this is going to be a 50-year building, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you cannot tell me that these cars are not going to be electric by
Right,
then,
exactly.
right?
That's what, exactly, and that's what I'm saying, Steve. I'm like saying,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're building this. You know, when we build it right now, it might be a lot easier to make sure that there is a pipe that runs from the electrical room over into the squad bay. Or, you know, down a wall that then can cover or so that in 10 years, you're like drilling through a concrete wall. and
Yep.
trying to pipe it.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean,
Perfect sense. And like you say, okay, don't commit to electric yet, but that is a very low cost solution. Run a piece of conduit down while you've got the walls open. I
Right,
mean,
Might as
this
well.
is gonna definitely be coming up again and again. I mean, look at every vehicle manufacturer right now, you know, has a goal, you know, 2035 goal. I mean, Ford, everybody, you know, those explorers or explorers that they're running around, you know, those are already becoming electric.
No, that's
So-
great. I'll make
So-
sure that gets put on the next.
Yeah.
agenda for our core planning
Great.
team.
Thanks, Carly.
Yep.
yeah. These are just, does anyone else on the committee have any energy related ideas for the new building that might be not
Well,
be
Yeah,
energy or due to monetary savings? That's what I'm asking right now. Like,
yeah.
Wish list items.
Yeah,
Well, what about an air source heat pump? So I know that I think, Michael, I think that you chased geothermal down to its, I think we hit a dead end there. But I do
Right.
think that air source heat pumps would be a great thing for us to consider if that's not already part of the plans.
I gotcha. So you're saying, yeah. So those would be. Oh man, those could go like in the rooftop units, like in the mechanical. Like, I don't even know if they do. They put those, yeah. You know, and that might be. Yeah. If we go with, you know, if this. I'm just writing here, if. Blah, blah, blah. The focus on energy thing, when they go and do the design of the building, like from the energy perspective, they might definitely be like, presenting that as one of the options, especially in the rooftop unit like area, like rather than putting an air conditioner up there, you would
Yep.
do an air source heat pump.
Yeah,
And that air source heat pump, dependent on, depending on how control it is, whether or not it wants to pull heat via electricity, or whether or not, we're gonna have boilers that's gonna be using hot water from the boilers, like it could decide whether or not it kicks on or whether or not it uses
Yep.
hot water,
yep,
And I would definitely hope that could definitely be brought up, but things like that is like because I thought about that today about the air source heat pump also, Melissa. And I was hoping that with that focus on energy building audit thing, that would be like
yeah.
something that they would hit on,
Yeah, and I think that the nice argument there is like, if we are covering the roof with solar, going with an air source heat pump could potentially offset any of the heat and cooling needs that we need with solar panels.
Well, definitely. That would be, in a great world, that would be awesome. That's where like, I don't know like what the whole entire electrical load of the building.
Yeah.
But it's definitely gonna offset some, so.
Yeah. So that would be my recommendation. In
Okay,
addition to everything that's already been listed, so the electrical system and set up in such a way that we could support electrical or, EV charging. Definitely support the solar panels, and then of course just as energy efficient as absolutely possible, and then designed not just to be energy efficient, but to conserve energy. So that just we're not needing, if it can be designed in a way that there's more passive heating, for example.
Oh, that's a really good point. Really good point, Melissa.
That's when you have extra insulation, right?
And you have well-placed windows
Well,
as
yeah,
well and
exactly.
overhangs. Yeah.
Yep.
So you have less
Um,
space for the heat to escape,
well, and also in the summertime, if they're
and
big,
for
the,
the opposite way.
the sun will, like the way on that south side.
Yep.
There's windows for where the conference room's gonna be, on that one side, there's a lot of windows.
Yeah.
So if they allow that room to warm naturally via the sun, like when it's really sunny, then you have to use, you don't have to burn natural gas or use electricity on your heat pump to build. I don't know if it was specifically designed for passive heating or not, but they did put windows on that one side, on the south side.
That's good to hear. Great.
Yeah, I think that would probably have been by accident, just knowing these. But-
We'll take the win, Carly.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
It's just how the building, the plot of land the building was put on that it worked out that way.
So talking about the land, so that rooftop with the solar, as much as we love it, is impervious, as is could be the parking for this. So let's think of exterior and catching rainwater, some natural plantings. We don't have to have a lawn around this, right? We could have some rain gardens, some sinks.
There's gonna be a detention pond for the water on the east side, right? There's a
I think
place
so.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Oh, yeah, you have to connect, I think under village ordinance,
I could probably pull up the site plan.
you have to retain 90% of the runoff from the site anyway by village ordinance.
Oh,
So-
good. Let's take a look.
Yeah, no, there was something there, they're gonna be catching the
Yeah.
water, whether or not it's. Whether or not it's a lush. Plants growing, or if it's a bunch of limestone rock, I don't know what they're gonna put there.
They should send it to a filter so that the staff can drink it after. Let's really think this through. No,
So
this is
site plan.
catch all these drops. We want to keep it out of that creek as well.
Right. So isn't that it on the, yeah,
Carly, are you sharing your screen? Because if so, we don't see it.
We've got your agenda yet.
I just have the wrong thing. 1 second. Stop sharing for a second. Now everybody should see it. Do you see the site plan now?
Yes.
Just popped up. Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah, sorry, it's
yeah,
all
the
for us.
public drainage and, yeah, see the drainage is there on the east side.
Looks like just a 30-inch decline down to
30 foot.
30 foot. Is there something down there?
Well, I think that's the property line, so that must be where they're gonna be running the water, but is there like a, like a retention area or anything, or is that just when it runs back, as it flows back to the north,
I think they're still
Looks to the
working,
north. Yeah.
still pretty rough.
still pretty rough, but that's like
Yeah.
where that go, like.
And what's our orientation here?
Well,
The-
Bourbon Road is at the bottom, and that's
Okay,
south, and right to the left is the fire station.
Yeah, this is the fire department. Just to the left.
And then the creek would be at the top of the page.
Yep.
Yes,
okay,
because they're on the left, that little path that goes and curves, that's the path that comes off Bourbon and goes behind the fire station and hooks over.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So we're working on figuring out a connection to that because there's a pretty steep incline from where the fire department lot is to up to where we will be.
So
So-
are they filling that in, Carly? Because 30 feet. It's almost like they're filling that in and then building on top of it. Is that right?
I don't
Because it's
know.
not that high right now. It's flat, essentially. If you go down that pathway and look left, it's just, an empty lot.
Yeah, I guess I can't really answer much about the excavating stuff. I'm not really sure about how that's all gonna.
Yeah.
It almost looks with those dotted lines as if they are going to put a bunch of fill in there and then have this thing built up.
But what would be the point of that? Is
Well,
there?
it's-
Because in
Flooding?
2018 you had a
Yeah,
catastrophic flooding
yeah,
event
yeah.
that,
I did hear about that.
yeah, it was something else.
It is sort of built up because when
Because the garage,
the
yeah.
garage is down, like the.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll
okay,
show a
yep.
better
Yeah, let's
picture.
get a
This
different
one.
picture.
Okay.
So that's like,
That's the front. And those are the windows on the left we were talking. That's like the solar panels on the roof.
and then this is the back.
Wow, okay.
So on the far side is that tract of land or that driveway that goes on the eastern side of the building, and it comes down to the parking lot and back.
Okay.
So this is that much lower to get up to that trail at the fire department. There's a
Okay,
big
yeah,
hill
yeah,
that
that
goes
makes,
up
that
there,
makes a
right?
lot of sense,
There'd have to
yeah.
be a giant hill here that goes, or, I don't know, we see that's, I don't know what the elevation is, but you can kind of see it goes down a little bit on the far side, you can kind of see how it's. Yeah, I don't know, yeah, there wasn't a, yeah, because if that's. Ground level now, or do they raise that a little
Yeah.
bit?
Because I guess I just wasn't getting that out of these other exterior concepts for how that site plan was gonna work, but
So that's what it looks like.
yeah, sorry, I left it. Something like this.
okay. But I guess the original question that Steve asked was about like landscaping and permeable surfaces and whether there's an opportunity for us to kind of push on that. Is that a conversation that happens with the committee that you're part of, Curly, or is there a different committee that we need to work through that?
No, I think it would be ours. I think right now we're very fixated on the building itself. And we were trying to get the floor plan finalized and the exterior stuff as well. And some of the interior. So, I mean, Yeah, I think then next I would assume we would discuss a lot of everything outside of the building. So yeah, definitely start with my committee, the
Okay.
core planning group.
Yeah, they didn't talk anything about landscaping at this
No.
last meeting a week ago on Monday. I don't think they really even started to think about what sort of plants or.
Mm-mm. No, but I
And
mean,
in the scheme of things, when it comes to kind of buildings footprint, it's the energy that it uses, the how we heat our space and heat our water, and the electricity that we use. That's the big stuff to focus on, and then kind of where that energy comes from. So I feel like that's the big stuff right now. Um, so I'm just naming, I feel like we're on a good trajectory if we are able to get through some of these recommendations to the appropriate committees.
Who's the architect on this project?
they are called WOLD, WOLD,
Okay. And do we know if they,
in Illinois.
okay, do they do their, or do they have landscape architects as well, or do we know if they're gonna
I am kind of
contract that out?
assuming they do. I don't know for sure, but I can definitely ask that at our next meeting.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, because I know that it's definitely definitely an area of expertise that is growing for sure because of what we're talking about right now.
They're definitely an architect and engineering firm, though. So
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay. So are there any other concerns about this at all, or do you wanna?
or anything else we want to see in this presentation too?
I don't not for tonight, no.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel like this is a really good conversation.
Yeah, agree. I don't have any other questions though.
You guys wanna talk about the no mow May stuff?
Oh, well, of course, we must. Okay,
Pull
so
that packet back up.
yeah, thanks for putting that in the packet, Carly. And since then, we've come up with a version 2. Michael gave me some feedback. I sent it out to Melissa and Michael and wondered if, should I have sent that to some like another like formal way of doing that? Because Michael made some edits and I made some edits and then sent out
Is
version
this
2.
Michael? Is this the most recent or not so?
No,
Okay.
that is,
I put the version 1 in, Steve, because, well, like the edits that you took out, and you really just kind of like, I was like, in that second paragraph, when it said one example when concluding the program, returning light long hearts to traditional lengths, you just kind of like axed that whole entire sentence, and I was just sort of like, all you had to do was just kind of like take the capital R out of there and put, not a period there and be like, when returning lawns to normal heights, like don't chop it all down. Like you just took it all out. And I just kind of like, I kind of wanted it in there, but
yeah, I'm
the
thinking we would do a better public service by having something shorter and more concise. And so that was version 2. And I appreciate you calling that out because it made me just reread this. It's like, this is too much. If people are going to read it at all, I would like it to be a little more sharpened. And that was version 2. So, Carly, you don't have that. Some committee members have it. If I'm to share that, should I just send it
You
right
can send
now
it.
to everyone? Do you want me to pull it up so
The new
people can?
version. Yeah, can you share your screen and then we could just see what you
Yes,
have? And then
we try that,
maybe you
and
could
then
do
you guys can
live
just,
editing and then when it's done, you could send it to me or to
yep.
Michael. Okay,
And I think we can get through this real quick.
cool. I'm gonna stop sharing so you can.
Okay. Sharing in Zoom. How does one do that? Send a request. Sharing is not turned on, but I'm going to send a
I'm
request.
going to allow you to now.
Okay. At which point I will, go to screen 2.
Yep.
Are you
Yeah.
seeing this? Okay.
Yeah.
So it has essentially, this is new material, like net new. This is what I edited since version 1. If people want to just kind of read that, see if it makes sense.
I can't make it any bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger. Or I'll just scoot it. Yeah,
Oh, thank
perfect.
you.
That's great.
That's perfect.
There.
That's better.
Okay.
Michael and I are just having a hard time reading on the screen.
Or suggestions of what, I mean, it's like what's the average person going to want to know about this? It's like, okay, we told them, hey, let's do No Mo May. Now it's like, No Mo May is pretty good, but we have some other ideas. That's where I was going for this. And that seems to
Would
be what
you
coming
update
up.
that June 1 to 2025?
Yes, good idea.
Perfect. And I would assume then this would get published as soon as the resolution gets approved, which I have on the agenda for the 27th.
Steve, thanks for pulling this together. I have one minor friendly amendment to this.
Bring it.
All right,
Bring
in
it.
the
Love it.
second paragraph, the last sentence, yeah, right around where your cursor, we'd like residents to consider other ways. Can I suggest we just say residents may consider other ways? Just to be a little bit less directive.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
So as our experience, residents may,
Yeah, residents may consider other ways.
that's nice. Other ways to help pollinators
Yep.
thrive.
Yep. Otherwise, this is great. Thank you for taking the lead on it.
This reference, by the way, goes to, let's see if I can do that. It goes to a reference that says essentially it's okay to mow, but here's some other ideas. Native plants, which is sort of what I referenced, and the slow mo and low mo as
Yeah.
well sort of go to
Do they reference other sites that just talk
reference
about?
other sites. Yep. After summer, should we do a slow mo? They're kind of, very consumerish. This Better Homes and Gardens, for instance, pretty digestible.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was this one? So
Would you want
the
this in
mo.
that newsletter too, that we have every month? Or almost every month? Would
Oh,
that be a good article
idea.
to include in that?
like put that in like the March one, since, because the May one, it would be like,
A little late.
yeah, especially.
Right.
the
Oh, that's a good idea.
But I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so the whole thing, essentially, Carly, this is just being interjected into the beginning of the website of this website here
Okay.
that we already have, and then the rest of it is all interesting and fine, and we can just keep it.
Okay.
yeah,
And so it had cute pictures, and if you want to get a yard sign, you could do that.
Okay. And then I would say, so I would update then the website after the board meeting where the resolution goes through. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Okay, so I will send this just to these committee members right now.
Do we need to? I mean, can we
You can just
Right.
send it to
this?
me.
Okay, just to Carly. Okay, so
Looks good.
do we need a motion to approve or anything like that, or everybody's good, or?
I don't think we need a motion to update the language. I don't know, Carly, do we? It doesn't seem like we do.
I mean, if we're all in agreement, just generalize that this is just going on the website. I mean, unless we need to, it's up to you.
I don't think
Okay.
you, no.
I'm just going to email version 3 V3 to this group right now, Carly, then you'll be ready to go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Steve.
Thanks for throwing that up, Steve. Sorry I didn't put that other version in there. I wasn't sure.
Oh, no, that's great. Just keeps the discussion going.
Yep.
Right, exactly. Okay. Alrighty. Well, now we got that going on. Do you want to talk about the plan going into the comprehensive plan, or do you want to talk about what the plan is going on right now? Look at the plan, see what our implementation is, what we want to do. What are we thinking?
Oh, that's a great question.
I'm, oh, go ahead, Melissa. I'm thinking we're at an hour and a half right now.
I was
How
kind
are
of
you doing with young kids at home?
along the same line. Yeah, along the same lines is that I'm probably gonna need to wrap up soon, and I wonder. I feel like there are a number of topics that we always kind of kick to the next meeting, and I wonder if we might be able to invert the order next time.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, the
that's,
comprehensive plan seems really important.
well, yeah, that's like, I'm not planning on talking about, yeah. None of this other stuff, I don't think we need to talk about really any longer. I think we've kind of gotten to a point where we're gonna see
Okay.
those, or if anything, they would just be just quick updates, but not a lot of discussion.
Okay.
Fully agree. Yeah, I would love to have our sustainability plan come to the top. We need to clean that up, I think, before we talk about proposing it become part of the comprehensive plan. Again, we just haven't had time to get back to it. And so it really needs to be like updated. We've done some things. It just feels a little bit stale right now.
Yeah.
A lot of the things have been worked and taken to where they're gonna go and need to move
Yeah.
on. We need to just realign and see what we want to focus on, you know?
Yeah, we passed it coming up. Well, it'll be 4 years, I guess, the fall in the fall. And yeah, it might be time to take a harder look at it and think about not just how we clean it up, but like whether we want to open it back up and kind of revise it with more public input. But agree that we at least should clean it up, and agree also, Michael, that we've moved some of these things as far as they're going to go.
No, I agree. And some of them are being implemented, the thing out at E and all that and et cetera,
Yeah.
you know? Okay, well, we can definitely talk about that the next time then. Let's plan on doing that.
Great.
That sounds good. And keep it, yeah, high on the agenda items.
Yeah,
Maybe focus the meeting on it. I mean, we could definitely put an hour into that alone.
yeah, that sounds fine. So with that being said, what are you guys thinking for the next meeting?
In terms of timing or agenda?
Well, in terms of day, yeah, like timing.
Yeah.
Agenda.
Ooh.
I just know I might have, the second Tuesday might not work for me.
Okay.
But it might, I mean, I just know
We're usually
lately,
Wednesdays.
or Wednesday, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I just know lately we've been meeting on the third Wednesday pretty consistently, and that seems to be working out pretty well. Like, as for you, I don't know if you were traveling or what you were doing.
Yeah, so for me, the first and third Wednesdays don't generally work. That is when we've hit like I have a hard stop at 7 because I have a standing meeting on the first and third Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So the second Thursday, why do I keep saying that? The second Wednesday works, and the fourth Wednesday works, or we could look at a different night.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure of. Oh, because this is the fourth Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm pretty flexible, so you guys,
Choose either the second or the fourth.
Right. Do either work for you or?
I mean, I might prefer the second just because the fourth would be 2 days after the board meeting. And it'd be a meeting heavy week for both of us. So I mean, the second Wednesday works just fine for me.
same for me.
Well, that sounds, well, if we want to do it on the 12th, that's fine. I just might have to be remote then.
Okay, that's fine. We do remote every other time, so
Right.
we could just make it a full remote meeting too.
Well, right, but that was the one that like Jen was thinking
Oh.
about coming to, but that's fine.
I can meet her here
She
too.
could just get online if she wanted to.
Okay.
It's just if I wasn't gonna be able to be in the
Yeah.
Here.
Well, just keep us posted and we can pivot and make it a full remote meeting.
Carly, was there going to be a change in the what's the term? Facilitator? The
Yeah.
chair of this? Where you were going to
Yes.
switch to someone
Public
from
Works. Yeah,
Public
Public
Works. Is that still
Facility.
going to happen?
Yes, but I'm waiting until Jerry is
Gotcha.
So
head transitions out.
you've decided
Okay.
the new director
Yes.
comes on, cause I was, thank you for that, cause I was like, that makes no sense that what are you gonna bring him in here and have him learn a thing that he's just gonna be
Right.
going in 2 months?
Yeah, especially at this point in time, you
He's
can tell he's ready
professional.
to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
don't want to,
Mhm.
yeah, push him into something new. So I think this will definitely be revisited in March. We'll talk more about it then, and there'll
Mhm.
probably be a new face around, but yeah, until then, you'll still have me.
Okay.
Okay.
Wondering about that tonight.
Yeah.
like. Okay, well then, we will plan on February 12th then.
Sounds good.
Okay. It's on my calendar.
Yep. Same.
All right.
You need a
just let-
motion?
Changes it all or whatever, so,
Okay.
Ready to
I'll-
adjourn?
see.
Oh, no, I was just looking at, I think, adjournment is next.
Yeah, so we already talked about future agenda items, unless anybody has anything that they would like to add or not.
Nothing for me.
Nope. Nothing for me.
With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
And Steve will second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed nay. We are adjourned.
Thank
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Strong work.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.